And thank you, APPDI, for trusting me to present in the session. Happy to be here to share my insights to the participants here today. So as Mbak Wahyu mentioned, my name is Marini Sulaiman. I'm the VP of Legal at GND Cyber, a cybersecurity firm based out of Singapore. So my topic of discussion today is how to achieve privacy and data protection in the cloud. So let's start by getting familiar with data. Next slide, please. Yeah, so you heard a lot about data, but what is it really? Why is there a need to safeguard data? So data is basically any information that is stored, processed, or transmitted within computer system or network that requires protection from unauthorized access, alteration, or disclosure. Next slide, please. Thank you. In cybersecurity, there are three most common terminology about data. Data privacy and data protection in particular are sometimes being used interchangeably. When we're talking about data security, it is the technology infrastructure that needs to be in place to safeguard our data from unauthorized access, from being altered or disclosed, and from basically getting breached from outside. Now, data privacy is a way of giving back control to the data subject so they can choose what or how they want to share their personal data to a third party. And data protection is the governance on how we undertake the security measures to ensure that we adhere to privacy. Now, not all data requires the same measure. Next slide, please. So data protection specifically governs personal identifiable information, or PII, or personal data. It is information or a set of information that could identify a person and potentially put that person at risk. What kind of risk, you might ask? That can be identity fraud, doxing, etc. Next slide, please. Thank you. So when data is stored in the cloud, how do we ensure privacy? Make sure that you secure the cloud. Cloud security is basically a shared responsibility. It's not merely the burden of the cloud provider, but each organization that put their data into the cloud is responsible to secure them. So what is cloud security? It's a combination of policies, technologies, controls that are implemented to protect data, applications, and infrastructure that are associated with cloud computing. Now, we know that cloud security encompasses various security measures designed to safeguard information stored in the cloud, access to cloud services, and the overall cloud computing environment. So the question now is, what are the key aspects of cloud security that must be deployed by organizations? I summarize here, there are 9 of them that I will walk you through one by one. Number 1 is data protection. We need to ensure confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data in the cloud. This will involve encryption, access controls, and data classification. Encryption, access controls, and data classification. Now in the market, there are technologies that can help you simplify and also automate the process. Number 2, identity and access management. Every organization needs to manage and control user access to the cloud resources. IAM systems authenticate and authorize individuals or systems to access specific cloud services. Number 3, you need to have network security. Implementing measures to secure the network infrastructure of cloud services, as well as preventing unauthorized access and protecting against network-based threats. Key aspect number 4 is compliance and legal considerations. Adhering to industry-specific regulations and legal requirements related to data protection and privacy to avoid legal complications. Number 5, every organization must have incident response. What is it? It is a way of developing and implementing plans to detect, to respond to, and to recover from security incidents or breaches in the cloud environment. Key aspect number 6 is physical security. We need to ensure the physical security of data centers where cloud infrastructure is hosted, including measures like access control, surveillance, and environmental controls. Key aspect number 8 is application security. We need to secure applications and services hosted in the cloud by addressing vulnerabilities, employing secure coding practices, and utilizing tools like web application firewalls. And the last one is security auditing and monitoring. We need to make sure that we regularly monitor and audit cloud environments for security events, anomalies, and potential threats. This involves using security information and event management tools. Now, the question is, what happens when organizations fail to address these key aspects? Next slide, please. A report by Apple, the company, that was recently issued just on December 7th, says that at least 2.6 billion personal data were compromised by data breach in the past 2 years. What does this tell us? Well, at least to me, it tells me that cloud security is crucial as organizations increasingly rely on cloud services for storing and processing sensitive data. A comprehensive cloud security strategy involves a combination of technology, policies, and ongoing risk management to address the evolving landscape of cyber threats. Now that we know securing the cloud is an ongoing and continuous task, the next question is how to protect our privacy and data in the cloud. Next slide, please. Yeah. So there are at least 10 measures important to data privacy and protection. Again, I will walk you through one by one. Number 1 is encryption. Encryption is key. We need to implement robust encryption mechanism for data, both in transit and at rest within the cloud. This will ensure even if unauthorized access occurs, the data remains indecipherable. And number 2, we need to have strong access control by establishing strict access controls to limit who can access sensitive data, by utilizing identity management tools, strong authentication methods, and role-based access control. Number 3 is by data classification. Clearly classify data based on its sensitivity and apply security measures accordingly. Not all data requires the same level of protection. So understanding and categorizing data is essential. And these days, there are technologies to help you do that. You don't have to do it manually, because if you are a company established 20 years ago, for example, with so many data and legacies, it is impossible to first of all, to know what data you have, and second of all, to classify the data based on what they are, basically. So these days, there are technologies that can help you with that. And the next one is to do regular audits and monitoring. Regular audits and continuous monitoring tools to track user activities and to identify any unusual patterns or potential security threats. This proactive approach helps you in detecting and addressing issues promptly. We are still on the previous slide, by the way. Can you go back? Yeah. Number 6 is data residency and jurisdiction. You need to understand where your data or your cloud provider stores data and be mindful of the requirements of that location. Choose a provider whose data centers align with your compliance needs to prevent legal complications. Number 7 is vendor security assessment. Basically, you need to evaluate the security practices of your cloud service providers. This includes understanding their security protocols, compliance certifications, and the measure they have in place to protect your data. And then you need to have incident response plan. And number 9 is user education. So you need to not only one-time training and educating user, but you need to keep training and educate all users in your organizations about the importance of data privacy and security best practices. Human error is a common cause in security incidents. And in fact, 70% of security incidents, security breach, and cyber attacks is caused by human error. And 70% is a very high number. So informed users in your organization contribute significantly to a secure cloud environment. And the last one is data backup. Regularly backup critical data and ensure that the backup systems are as secure as the primary data storage. This is essential because in case of ransomware, for example, you need to recover data fast. You need to prevent deletion, for example. If your backup is not as strong as your primary storage, then you will not be able to recover. And then basically you will lose time and money in order to recover the data that you lost due to ransomware. So remember that maintaining privacy and data protection in the cloud is an ongoing process that requires a combination of technology, again, policy enforcement, and user awareness. Okay, next slide. Okay, now you might ask, why do we need this measure? Why do we need to put this effort, not only one time, but continuously? So legal and compliance is one thing. Before Indonesia has its own PDPA, most companies that I've worked with had already been self-regulating themselves when it comes to PII. Why, you ask? Because they are bound by GDPR at the time. We know that GDPR has extraterritorial nature and will be enforced when it comes to violation. But not only legal and compliance, on the business side, the financial side, cyber threats and cyber attacks are very real risks and have created large financial impacts on companies. Ransomware is a real threat. We already see it in Indonesia, not only one time. I've at least seen it on the news at least 3 times. And those are the ones who made it into the news. But the ones that are not made it into the news the numbers are quite surprising. At the end of the day, companies that are not able to foster a secure digital environment will have less likely chance of survival. Next slide, please. Okay, so we've come to an end of my presentation. If I can summarize, cloud security is a combination of technologies and policy. I cannot emphasize this more. We need a technology, but we also need it to work with policy in place. Governance is very important, especially when it comes to cyber attack. You need to have a governance in place, a really good governance, and that combines with your technology, then you will have a secure cloud environment. And the second one is maintaining privacy and data protection in the cloud. Again, it's a combination of technological measures, policy enforcement, and user awareness. At my company, we have partnered and provided organizations in Indonesia and Southeast Asia with technologies to secure their data, ensuring privacy and data protection. And we have technologies that help you with any kind you need for protecting your data. We have end-to-end encryption, data classification, security awareness training, 24/7 threats monitoring, automatic and real-time data backup, incident response team, to name a few. Please reach out to me for further information if you need to secure your cloud environment.